Hello, everybody. My name's Claude Rebel, and I'm the head of sports at Google and YouTube. I'm here to welcome you today to Commissioner Don Garber's talk, his March to Soccer announcement today with us on our Google Plus Hangout. We're really excited to have Commissioner Garber with us here today. He's been with the MLS since 1999 and has seen huge growth in that league over the time that he's been there. There's over 16 new owners in the league, 13 new stadiums that they've built, and they've created a great commercial arm called Soccer United Marketing for the entire league and for the teams. The fan base has been tremendous, but one thing that Commissioner Garber and the team at the MLS have always done is to think about how they talk to and provide content to the next generation of soccer fans, those 12 to 35-year-old youth that are really loving soccer and loving the athletes that are around the sport. So they've done a lot with us at YouTube and at Google to try and do that. They've created a tremendous channel on YouTube, their MLS channel, which gets thousands of views of their content. They've also built, in partnership with YouTube, a channel called Kick TV, which announces news and results, and it gives all sorts of lifestyle pieces about these great athletes that are in this sport. They also have a great Google Plus MLS page with over 1 million plus ones, which has been tremendously successful. And they just the other day launched their new Play app, their MLS Match Day, which will allow you to follow the entire season on your mobile device. We're really excited about that. So I want to say is Commissioner Garber makes his way up to the platform. This is going to be the 18th season of the MLS with over 19 clubs in the USA and Canada with players from over 65 countries. But before we have Commissioner Garber's talk, we wanted to show you a short video which will outline the excitement, the athletes, the tremendous thrill of being able to see MLS. So let's roll that video, and with that, then we'll move to Commissioner Garber's talk. Thanks so much.
Well, welcome everyone. I want to start by thanking Claude for allowing us to have this great opportunity to try something a bit different, to be the first professional sports league to go live with a Google Hangout and to be live on YouTube with a preseason address. And Claude, I really want to thank you for all of the corporate support. We're so proud of Kick TV and all the support that our MLS digital staffs have received from Google. I want to thank our digital crew for putting this together. Fun opportunity. This is my 14th MLS preseason address. In the past, they've always been kind of boring teleconference calls. We sit in a conference room with some notes, the media sitting at home. We take some questions, and boy, we're getting tired of that. So we thought it would be unique, fun, and exciting to participate with some new technology, speak to an audience here. For those of you that are watching online, there's an audience of 40 or 50 people here. I'll have some questions and then take some questions from those of you that are watching from your homes, from your living rooms or your office, but also giving some fans an opportunity to ask some questions. You can know I'm really looking forward to that. It's the first time we'll take questions from fans as part of this address. So let me get started. We're now entering our 18th season, and it's a time for Major League Soccer of really remarkable and rapid transformation. I'm going to talk a bit about that, not so much on the past, but more about what kinds of things that we're excited about going forward, particularly as we enter the 2013 season. But I thought I'd start with a reminder of what our mission is. What is it that we're trying to do? And our mission is to inspire North American soccer fans and players, everybody that's in and around the game in the United States and Canada, to make Major League Soccer their league of choice. That was our mission in 1996. That remains our mission today. And over the past 17 years, we've been working very hard to establish a very solid foundation for the professional game. We've done it in a very patient and strategic way. I think there have been many that have tried to push us to go there a bit faster than we were ready to. As part of this process, we've invested billions and billions of dollars in building the game, and we feel pretty good about where we are today. We now have 19 teams competing in 14 soccer-specific stadiums. Great stat, last season we attracted over 6 million fans, averaging close to 19,000 fans a game. To put that in perspective, Major League Soccer is now the 7th highest attended professional soccer league in the entire world, countries that have been playing the game professionally for over 100 years. And as you would expect, we hope and are counting on our fan base to grow. 2012 saw the highest level of interest in Major League Soccer among the general population. ESPN has been doing a poll for over a decade, and that poll just showed that more and more people are interested in Major League Soccer and following Major League Soccer over our last season than any other time in our history, and obviously that bodes well for our future. Very importantly, we've got a very relevant fan base. By the way, it's why we're doing this MLS season address as part of the Google Hangout. It's a Gen Y audience. It's 18 to 34 years old. It's an important audience for marketers. It's an important audience that represents all those people that have grown up with the game. Those people now love the game. They could influence what happens with our league. They're a key driver of what Major League Soccer's success is about. And frankly, the environments that they're creating in our stadiums are giving us a point of difference that we think separates us from the other major leagues here in the US and Canada. Importantly, when we set out to form this league, Major League Soccer was founded coming out of the World Cup in 1994. And FIFA said, hey, we need a professional league to drive the game, to lead player to development, to lead stadium development, and very importantly, to lead the overall growth of the infrastructure of the game. Just 10 years ago, 200 professional players in the United States got paid to play soccer in Division I. Today, we have almost 600 players, 600 MLS players that it's their job, it's their career to play in our league. Today, we've got dozens and dozens of ex-players that are coaches, that are administrators, that are broadcasters. 12 of our 19 current MLS head coaches played in the league. That's something that's relevant because it shows our continued quest to lead the game, to lead the growth of the game at all levels. Another great stat, Major League Soccer employs over 2,000 full-time employees. Think about that to where Major League Soccer was years ago. 6,500 people are working on game day. So this is an important, relevant contribution to the American and Canadian economy. And importantly, personally to me, to all those other people that work as part of our MLS Works philanthropic effort, we've got over 2,500 community service projects that are taking place throughout the United States and Canada. So we're not just making a difference on the field with our players, with our stadiums, with our employment statistics, we're also making a difference off the field and trying to better the communities and better the countries where we play. Of course, all this is made possible with our great ownership group. In my opinion, it's the best ownership group in professional sports. Folks that believe in the game, they believed at it back then, they believe in it even more today. People that have a very diverse point of view, represent a wide variety of different ethnicities, people that are trying to do everything that they can and will not stop till they're done to build this sport in the US and Canada to make it even bigger, better, and more important than it is today. We're also driving the commercial landscape. You heard Claude talk about that. Soccer United Marketing was founded in 2002. At that time, we had to go out and buy the World Cup rights. We paid $40 million for those rights. Those rights needed to be purchased by us because nobody wanted them. This year's World Cup package that FIFA took to the market was sold for $1.1 billion. So think about in just 10 years what Soccer United Marketing has been able to do to help not just be the leader of the growth of the game commercial, but really participate in making the commercial value of soccer more and more important, more and more valuable for everybody that's involved in the game. We're very proud of our broadcast partners. We've got Some great partners, ESPN, NBC, Univision. ESPN's been around with us for 18 years. Up in Canada, we have TSN and RDS. NBC will begin their second year of their relationship with us following a really successful season, both from a ratings perspective, but also from a promotion and programming perspective. The MLS 36 program was really the first time in many years we were able to take the kits off of our players and show them in their homes and what they're doing when they're not playing. And we expect more and more behind-the-scenes programming from NBC in the years to come. And unquestionably, with our sport being the #1 sport with Hispanics, we're very, very excited about our relationship with Univision. Univision will step it up this year. All of our games will be on Unimas. That's the former Telefutura. You're going to see a more consistent schedule. You're going to see more consistent promotion. We're excited about that relationship and excited by the fact that 30% of our audience is Hispanic, and what better way to reach that audience than with our great partners in Univision. And Canada, TSN and RDS have been doing a great job on the national level. There's some local relationships there. You can see and will see more and more promotion and programming. TFC is going to have a behind-the-scenes program on TSN and RDS. So it's the beginning of those broadcasters really stepping it up and taking it to a higher level. Across the board, we've really come a long way. But it's not about the past, it's about the future. So today we're proud to announce a new vision for Major League Soccer, call it a 10-year plan. Major League Soccer has been around for almost 18 years. It's now time to talk about what the 10-year vision will be. The vision's bold. It's something that many in the media have heard about before, but let me state it very emphatically here. By 2022, we want to be one of the top soccer leagues in the world. We're going to measure that by the quality of our play, the passion of our fans, the relevance of our clubs in their markets, but also the viability of our business, being able to do that with a very sound business practice. So the foundation of our plan has been laid very, very soundly. The foundation of the plan going forward is going to be really divided up into two very strategic, specific areas. One is to enhance the quality of play. The second is to grow our fan base. So starting with the quality of play, as we enter the 2013 season, we have 5 key initiatives that we're going to be launching this year that we're going to discuss in more detail. I'm sure the media will have some questions about it. It starts with the continued growth in the use of the designated player and other high-impact players, having our teams go and be more aggressive in that area. 2 is our new relationship we just launched with the USL Pro League, the lower division. I'll talk a bit about that, but we're very excited about supporting the lower divisions. 3rd is in youth development. As you know, we've just formed a new relationship with the French Football Federation. I'll talk about that. 3rd is in referees, our new PRO, our new referee pro organization. And lastly is in coaching. On the marketing side, or turning to fan development, with our new partnership with Providence Equity Partners, that's the new private equity fund that made an investment in Soccer United marketing about a year ago. We've been working on developing a way to manage the execution of a wide variety of initiatives that will help us grow our fan base so that in 10 years, our fan base will rival the fan bases of other leagues around the world. This year, we're going to talk about a new This Is Soccer brand campaign. You've seen it in some of the branding here in the room today. The March to Soccer season launch effort. Today's event is part of that. And 3rd is continued investments in technology and programming and content. Much of that you haven't heard about before today. We're going to go into some details. So let's start with competition. On the field, the quality of our competition continues to grow, and I believe it'll only get better. The designated player rule, which you're all familiar with, has enabled clubs to sign great global icons like Beckham and Henry, some great international stars like Tim Cahill here in New York and Robbie Keane. Put in perspective, the number of designated players since 2009, when that program was just getting into its infancy, has tripled. 3 times as many designated players than just a few years ago. In the past 2 years, our clubs acquired more than 80 different players from international leagues who represented their national teams. A few examples of those players, we're kind of calling them impact designated players, perhaps not of the caliber of Henry or Beckham, but guys that could really make a difference on the field. Federico Higuain, an Argentinian playmaker who was our newcomer of the year in Columbus. Boniek Garcia, a great Honduran player, played a key role in Houston advancing to the MLS Cup. National team forward in New England, Jerry Bengstrom, is another example. Since MLS Cup, DC United signed Brazilian forward Rafael. Sporting KC signed Claudio Bieler, a guy from Argentina. And Portland signed Diego Valeri, also an Argentinian player. These are all new players, call them impact designated players, all signed within the last year. And we're proud to say that the number of players who are coming in when their career is on the rise is far greater than those players who are coming here when their careers are winding down. The average age of the newcomers that have been signed over the last year or so from other leagues is below 27. A good time to be talking about players in their prime. We've also seen lots of players that have been eligible to play for the U.S. national team and the Canadian national team. Those numbers continue to grow. And very importantly, because this is a global sport, we're playing in CONCACAF. We're trying to do everything we can to make CONCACAF more and more popular, more and more relevant. We're excited about the new management with Jeffrey Webb and Enrico Sanz. The numbers of our players who are playing for their national teams from Honduras and Costa Rica, Jamaica, and Guatemala continue to grow. Far more, by the way, that are playing than for the U.S. and Canada. Many of our players continue to invest in the top of their roster. We'll talk a little bit about the investment we're making in the bottom of the rosters. Just this year, obviously, Henry and Kane and Landon, Tim Cahill, Di Rosario being re-signed, Mario Rosales, Chris Pontius, Graham Zusi, we're excited about him. And then our newest DP, Chris Kwanowski, a great story about a guy came up through the system, played in Major League Soccer his entire career, signed a great contract as a designated player. These guys are difference makers, that people that our fans are excited to see in the stadium, and our fans are going to be excited to see them on television. But as importantly, we're doubling down our efforts on the youth development side. One of the most important developments that we believe is going to drive this growth over the next 10 years is our investment, our new partnership with USL Pro. The connection between the first division and the lower divisions, we think, will solidify the soccer pyramid. Having the sport strong at all levels is important to us, the leader of the sport here in our country and in Canada. Our young players will be able to compete in more competitive matches as we invest more in our academies, invest more in our reserve leagues. These young kids need a place to play. The USL Pro relationship will give them the opportunity to do that. That'll make them better, and it'll give us a better opportunity, more of an incentive, if you will, to sign those players when they're coming up and available to start their careers. Also an important part of us forming a business relationship with USL Pro. We're excited about what that can be. Academies will continue to be a priority for us. There are those who have made massive investments in this, not just in going below the U14, going to the U14 level and below, but investing in infrastructure, a new facility, for example, that Toronto just is embarking on, $20 or $30 million in investment. Over 80 of those players have signed homegrown player contracts. You don't hear as much about those as you hear about the signings of Thierry Henry, but that's an important part of the pyramid. It's an important part of the development of Major League Soccer. Officiating is something that we've invested deeply in. We believe our officials are far better than most people give us credit for. But clearly we wanted to take a step in partnership with U.S. Soccer, in partnership with the CSA, to create a program that will improve officiating, it'll improve the quality of officials, it'll improve the development of officials, and it'll improve the training of officials. It's called PRO, the Professional Referees Organization. Independent company. We just have one seat on the board. 2013, here's what it's going to look at. These are some stats you might not have heard before. Our top group of officials will attend 18 different 3-day training camps during 2013. We're going to bring the guys in during the week. So for 3 days, 18 different times, those guys are going to come in. They're going to review tape. They're going to sit down with their various trainers, and they're going to learn about what they did right, what they did wrong, and what kinds of things they can do to get better. We'll have more full-time officials, 9 in fact, than any other time in the league's history. In the past, we only had 3 full-time officials. So you had a guy that was officiating a game, and then he was going to his day job. The vast majority of our officials will be full-time folks that will be thinking about professional refereeing in Major League Soccer and nothing else. We've got 2 folks that are running it. We're very, very proud of them. Peter Walton, who just last spring was officiating on the field in the EPL, is running the group. He's been going around the country speaking to the U.S. Soccer Board, the CSA Board, our coaches, our general managers, our owners. We've got a lot of faith in Peter and his assistant, Paul Roger. Both of them have been full-time officials. Michael Kennedy, a guy that many of you know, an ex-MLS official, has joined the staff, and he's going to be working as a 3rd full-time employee in there. Not an overnight project. I don't think officiating is something that will ever be to the point where fans and coaches or players don't have issues with it. But I believe that we can get better. I believe that these investments are going to deliver a higher quality and better training, and we're very proud of our investment there. Turning to coaching, one thing that you got to do is you got to make your coaches better. We've got great coaches at the first team level. We're trying to do things and put programs in place to train our assistants and our academy coaches to be better teachers. I just arrived back from France, where we kicked off our French Federation relationship. We have now 19 guys that are over in Clairefontaine working with arguably the country that's probably done the best job in youth development, a program that was created by Gerard Houllier, who's now involved with Major League Soccer through the Red Bulls, and produced great players like Henry and Zidane and Ribéry and Nasri. We had lots of countries that we could have looked at. There are lots of great countries that are developing players. We think the French system is the best at teaching teachers. And having spent some time with these guys 2 nights ago, they're all very excited about it. Turning to fan development, the kinds of things we're doing outside the line. 2013, we've got a number of new programs, big investments that we're making that'll hopefully build our fan base, drive some scale, improve our television ratings, and inspire the next wave of fans. So I don't have to tell you that in our stadiums, the sights and sounds and the passion and the pageantry rivals environment, frankly, in most other countries around the world. Some of the great clubs around the world, when they come visit Major League Soccer, they go to a game in Portland or in Philadelphia or in Kansas City or in Seattle, they look at it and say, boy, this could be a Premier League game, it could be a Bundesliga game, it could be a Serie A game. That environment is something that we want to continue to capitalize on. You'll see it in some videos we're going to show later on here today. It's part of a new platform we're calling This Is Soccer, a new communications platform that we're going to take and spread through viral communication throughout the league office, throughout our fan base, with and throughout all of our clubs. We're going to deliver this audience as broadly as we can. It's going to be our rallying cry. We're going to basically say, this is soccer. When you're watching an MLS game, when you're attending an MLS game, this is the game that you know and love. It's going to kick off with our new preseason marketing platforms called the March to Soccer. It's a month-long campaign, as opposed to just a week-long campaign in the past. It's got programming, events, and promotion. New MLS.com website. We had a Jersey week, though we premiered most of our new jerseys, a big event here in New York. Media tours with our players. All of our players, all of our teams came into New York and did media tours throughout the major media partners here in New York City. The centerpiece of our marketing platform will be Rivalry Week. It'll be supported by all of our partners, corporate partners and our media partners, the weekend of March 16th and 17th. 8 of our 9 matches and week 3 will be regional rivalries, something that, as you know, we think is very important, something that'll give some conference priority and bragging rights. So this rivalry week will be something that we're very excited about, and I think you'll see more details in the weeks to come. We're also continuing to invest in technology, new digital channels, new media channels, new programming, creating custom content to reinforce both our digital and our social presence. This is a great example of that. And very importantly, enhance our connectivity with the kind of fan who's living in a world socially that might be very different from the fans in other sport, and certainly very different from the thinking that we had 5 or 10 years ago. We're trying to reveal the sides of the game, the behind the scenes of our clubs, of our teams, of our players, even our fans and our history, and bring them inside the story. And you're going to see that in a lot of special programming that's going to air both digitally and with our broadcast partners in the year to come. So, as you know, in the past couple of years, lots of talk has been about expansion. We've grown the league, as Claude mentioned, fairly significantly over the last couple of years. Expansion, particularly here in New York City, remains a big priority for us. We continue to work hard to have our 20th team play here in New York in a new stadium, hopefully in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. I'm sure that'll be the first question from somebody in the audience or online. We do remain in very productive discussions with the city of New York, with the state of New York, lots of local officials who are very, very engaged with regarding that project. We still have a lot of work to do, but we are making progress. We're going to continue to engage in the community and ensure, if we're able to be successful, that that team and that stadium will be incredibly connected in a community that literally is made up of every country from around the world. If we're successful, We believe it'll be one of the real shining lights in Major League Soccer, having a terrific rivalry with the Red Bulls, who are doing a terrific job across the river in New Jersey. And of course, there'll be lots of other things that we've got going on the expansion front. We remain in discussions in Orlando, in Miami, in Minneapolis, in Atlanta. Somebody will ask for more detail on that, but be happy to talk about it. A couple of storylines that we're following. Obviously, the Galaxy have a couple of championships. The question will be, are they going to be able to be the first team to have a three-peat in MLS history? We've got 3 clubs, the Galaxy, Houston, and Seattle, in the quarterfinal round of the CONCACAF Champions League. We've got to do better in that tournament. We've got to make it priority. It is a goal for Major League Soccer to win the Champions League. If we're going to achieve our goal to be one of the top leagues in the world, we've got to be the top league in the region, and we've got a lot of work to do in that tournament to win, get over to the World Club Championships, and hopefully do really well over there. We're excited about Chris Wondolowski, the great season he has. Will he be able to continue and hopefully make another run at the scoring title, perhaps this year setting the title as opposed to tying it? And we've got 5 new coaches, lots and lots of new exciting faces, and we're all excited about what their performance might be. I have no doubt that over the next 10 years, we will continue to grow the quality of our competition. We will continue to grow the size of our fan base, the relevance of our clubs, the importance of our league here and abroad. This is our priority. This leadership position is something that we're going to continue to make our sole focus as we continue to plan, not just for 2013, but continue to plan the path to 2022. So we need to have the full support of our fans. We need to really harness all the power and commitment of our owners. We need to work very closely with what we think is a terrific group of chief business officers at the local level. We will become a world leader. We will become a league that will have great professional players that will be literally the icons for our sport over the next 10 years. We will have more relevant and more renowned clubs in our local market with far more competitive teams. We will be able to achieve being one of the leaders in youth development. That's just a matter of being smart and investing more. And without doubt, we will continue to be a league that will have the most passionate fans of any professional sport in the United States and Canada. So thanks very much for allowing me to have this rather long intro to the questions that's soon to come. For those of you at home and couldn't make it to Google headquarters here, you missed the really cool Kick TV t-shirts that we gave everybody who attended this event. So give me a second to get plugged up here, and let's start with Dan Kortemanch and our questions.
Major League Soccer returns March 2nd to the NBC Sports Network.
Dallas Cowards, ride the cold! Rise above, we're gonna rise above!
Excellent, and thanks again for all of you here in New York joining us and those online for our Google Plus Hangout session today. I'm Dan Kortemanch with Major League Soccer. Now, the easy thing would be to go to one of our journalists here in the audience with the first question, but we're going to go to Montclair, New Jersey. We've got Jack Bell with the New York Times up on the screen. We'll throw it to you, Jack.
Montclair.
Well, guys, actually, I'm in New Milford, New Jersey. It's Philip who's in Montclair. But Don, yes, you were right about the first question being about the New York team. I mean, what else could we ask you about? And I'd like to know, with all the talks and negotiations going on now, could you foresee a current owner of an MLS team or a partner in an MLS team becoming the primary owner of that 20th team? And secondly, could you foresee the possibility that the 20th team will not be in New York? It's my understanding that the folks in Orlando have the approval to build a new stadium right now.
So good question, Jack. Let me sort of start by saying, no, I don't think, the owner of that team will not be a current MLS owner. None of our current owners are looking to do anything other than get their teams to be in place to help us satisfy our big vision. We continue, as you probably know, Jack, to be in discussions with some terrific and very capable and passionate potential ownership groups. I'm confident we will finalize a deal with one of those owners, and we hope to be able to finalize that deal relatively soon. There is a lot of activity going on in other markets, and we're excited about what's happening in Orlando. The city, Mayor Dyer just made an acquisition for some downtown land. I think that sets them up to have a pretty good downtown stadium potential project, and if they're able to achieve that, that certainly makes them even more of a viable candidate than they are today. So it really depends on timing. A lot of it has to do with how quickly we're able to finalize an agreement on our stadium project. And we've got some work to do there. It's complicated. All stadium development is complicated in New York City. We remain bullish, but also acknowledge we've got a lot of work to do to finalize a deal.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Jack. We'll go down to, I assume he's in Dallas, Texas today, but you never know, Steve Davis with NBC's Pro Soccer Talk. Steve?
Howdy, Don.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, so I want to ask you about the next star that you guys will develop and then perhaps sell on, to Europe. It's an emotional issue for fans, of course. They connect with these guys. Can you help us understand, Don, where it's appropriate for the league to become involved in these negotiations, and then how often does that really happen? I know fans wonder about that a lot.
So good sporting question, Steve. I'll be consistent. I've said it since I became commissioner. If it were up to me, and if it was a perfect world, one that I control and no commissioner controls anything, we'd never sell a player. Part of our goal is to be that league of destinations, so that the issue would be more, how do we manage all the players that just want to come in? Well, that's not the reality in almost any league. Players do come and go. They get signed, and Van Persie is a great player for Arsenal, and then he leaves to go play for another club, and Arsenal fans have to see him play against them. So the movement of players is part of the sport in the global marketplace. That being said, the Breck Shea issue, I think you're talking about, is a good example. We wanted Breck to stay in the league, and I think it would have been good, in our opinion, for Breck's career development. Breck believed that it would be better for him to play for Stoke. He had his first start just a week ago, and we hope it's good for his career. We live in this world where we've got to satisfy the league's needs, but also satisfy the players' needs. That's part of the dynamic of professional soccer. I will say that far more players come in and far fewer players leave than I think the public and the media really understand. We really sold 2 players in the offseason, Breck and Andy Nahar. And Andy, I think, is a good story for us, a guy that was developed in academy and was sold for millions of dollars, the top team in Belgium. That probably has the next Andy Nahar perhaps wanting to play soccer as opposed to playing another sport. And it also allows us to use that money to, DC's case, perhaps make their team better. Long term, we're going to develop a lot more players. Long term, we'll have a lot more players that are going to be coming in from the homegrown world and being a key part of our rosters. But it is part of the dynamic that we live with every day. Steve, are you still on? Because
Yes, sir.
I think I avoided the second part of your question. I didn't avoid it. I forgot.
I didn't know if we were supposed to ask.
Here we go, man. So here it is. The league does get involved. The league signs the player contracts. That contract is owned by Major League Soccer. So we do have a say. And frankly, what might be in just the best interest of the team at that time might not be in the best interest of what we're trying to do, satisfy our broad vision. We would never stand in the way definitively, but we have an opinion. We have a voice that's part of the Major League Soccer structure that may or may not remain the same for the rest of time. But in Breck's case, we were very involved. And by the way, I got a nice email from Breck when he left thanking us for how that process was managed. Todd Durbin was in regular communication with him, as was obviously his coach, Shellis Heineman. Glad I remembered that.
Me too.
Since this is an innovative format or something a little bit new just for our journalists, feel free to ask a question if you have a follow-up. It is allowed, so thank you, Steve. We're going to go to the folks here in the room with us. We'll kick it off with Julian Linden from Reuters. Julian?
Yeah, hi, Don. You
Julian?
spoke about your vision for MLS being one of the top leagues in the world by 2022. through enhancing the quality of play and growing your fan base. But I wonder what importance you place on how the league is perceived globally. And with that, I mean, what do you think the rest of the world, how do they look at MLS now? What do you think they think of it? And do you envisage a day where you can have real strong fan bases in traditional strongholds like Europe and in Asia as well?
So, good question. I'd say the respect for Major League Soccer abroad is greater than it is among the soccer community in the United States. So when we were over 2 nights ago at dinner at Clairefontaine, the reputation of the league amongst the top folks at their federation is really high. They know how hard it is to build a league. They know how hard it is to average over 18,000 fans a game. They know how hard it is to develop players, to make massive progress in the development of infrastructure, to do that in less than 20 years. And these are leagues that have been around for 100 years. We average more attendance than the French league does. So the question really is, how do we raise our quality so that when we're playing against PSG in a straight-up match in the World Cup Championships, we believe we could win? And we've got a ways to go to be able to achieve that on a regular basis. Part of that is having a bigger financial resource base to be able to spend more money on players, to do that in a way, playing to our last point in our vision imperatives, to do it in a financially viable way. I think we have a lot of owners that could spend a lot more money, but if they did, might end up threatening the viability of the league. So part of that is building our scale, building our business, generating more revenue, investing that revenue into players. You know, I don't think anything will ever hold back American entrepreneurs who really want to win. And our guys want to be a top league. They'll achieve it. It might be a long path over the next 10 years to get there, of lots of different things happening, but I have no doubt we'll achieve the goal. I'm not saying be the top league, but there are a handful of leagues that people think are the great leagues in the world. I think we'll be one of them in 10 years.
Thanks, Julian. And just for our folks online, I think this will probably help out a little bit. We're going to continue here in the studio in a moment with Evan Noby-Williams with Bloomberg News, but then we're going to follow up with our first fan question from John Freeman, who's out in Kansas City. Then we'll go back to the studio with Matt Futterman with the Wall Street Journal and Fred Dreyer with USA Today. So, Evan?
Don, you've talked about how much the league is growing, and there are a lot of metrics that show that. One area where the league's growth might not be as rapid is TV ratings. I think the MLS Cup last year drew a 0.7 overnight. I'm curious as to why you think that is and what you guys may be planning to do to kind of help the growth in all the other areas translate to the TV side.
So a lot of it is time. You know, if you look at building a broad national fan base that can be sustainable, it takes time to be able to achieve that. We need to train all these great local fans, and we could almost ask the person from Kansas City that question. You know, are you interested in watching the Galaxy play the Red Bulls like an NFL fan is interested on Monday Night Football to watch the Cowboys play the Redskins, even if he's an Oakland Raider fan? So part of that is being really engaged in the league, being proud of the league, and having players that attract your attention, having more players that you will pay to want to see, and that will increase over time. Clearly, all leagues are looking to drive their television ratings. Major League Soccer is in that category. I'm confident that when our new television agreements are renewed, and that'll be post the 2014 season, we'll be able to configure relationships that perhaps will give us more promotion, that might give us a schedule that works a bit better for us and our fans. We've got to continue to work on our schedule. Right now, we are playing our most important games in the most competitive part of the American and Canadian broadcast calendar. Over time, that might be something we're going to have to take a look at changing.
All right, our next question, we're going to go back online. We're going to go to our first fan question. It's going to be John Freeman, who's out in Kansas City. John?
Commissioner Garber, good evening. You spoke a little bit about the professional referee organization earlier. What do you think PRO's development of better officials will do for the fans, the players, the coaches, and ultimately Major League Soccer as a whole?
Well, you know, I think it starts with better training, better assessment, better use of technology, more focus on prioritizing their workday, better review, going back those 18 three-day sessions of looking at tape and trying to see what a good game is and what a challenging game is, where it was right to make a call, where it was not right to make a call, educating our fans. I attend a lot of Kansas City games, and boy, the fans there, and it's a relatively new fan base, it's probably one that we are almost proudest of. But there are a lot of times the fans are looking at calls and they're carrying on, and I've got to go hide in under the stadium, and then we look at the video and the referee got it right, and perhaps maybe there was a little more excitement with the players and sideline that had everybody in that stadium thinking that the referee really blew it, when in fact he didn't. By the way, and you'll be interested in knowing this, a lot more attention on sideline behavior. We're going to place a lot more attention on surrounding the referee. We're going to place more responsibility on the club and on the coach on ensuring that that doesn't happen. Part of the issue here is let's take the heat off it. Let's play the game. Let's do what we can to make our officials better. But let's understand that it's not nearly as bad as some of our fans and some of our friends in the media, some of our coaches and some of our players think it is. Thanks for the question, though.
All right, thanks, John. We're going to go back into the studio here with Matt Futterman with the Wall Street Journal.
Thanks,
Hey, Matt.
Tom. How are you?
Good.
How do you become one of the best leagues in the world when you have a salary cap on the one hand, which will prevent you from signing certainly a critical mass of the best players in the world, and on the other hand, a sort of ethos that younger players have to go overseas in order to get the top training. You're getting it going and you're getting it coming. So I'm sort of curious what the strategy is to overcome those obstacles.
So I think it goes to the question from my friend here from Reuters, is growing scale so we can grow our business so that at the right time make the right decision to invest more in being able to attract some of the best players in the world. But I look at what's going on down in Mexico, Matt. Their salary budgets aren't dramatically different than ours. I would argue Mexico is one of the best leagues in the world. They've got great fans. They got incredible television ratings. They got a good quality of play. They regularly are winning this region, certainly in the Champions League, and their salary budgets aren't dramatically different than ours. So I don't think that you have to spend the hundreds and hundreds of millions of euro that are spent at the top level of many of the clubs over in Europe to be a great league and one of the top leagues in the world. We do need to grow our business, and we probably do need to increase our spending, but only to do that at a time when we're going to be able to manage that. And I'm confident we'll be able to achieve that, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. We'll go to Fred Dreyer with USA Today. Fred?
Hi, Don. I have another New York team question. Throughout your tenure, you've faced a lot of different business challenges, from contraction, from opening up a number of new franchises, a World Cup bid. I'm curious how this push to get a team in New York City, when it, in terms of sheer difficulty, how does this compare to the other challenges you personally have faced?
The biggest challenge we've ever faced. But I think if you asked Bruce Ratner that, or Jim Dolan that, or you asked the folks in Charles Wang with the Islanders, or if you asked Jeff Vanderbeek with the Devils, this is an incredibly valuable market, and one that is very constrained in terms of real estate opportunities, available land. But if you can make it here, you really can make it anywhere. So it's worth the effort. It's been a difficult process. First time the league led it. I would argue if you spoke to Lamar Hunt, if he was still around, he would say it was pretty difficult to get a stadium built in Dallas, or certainly Phil Anschutz in the Home Depot Center. They're all difficult. I think the difficulty or the uniqueness here is that it's the league. Mark Abbott, our president, leading that effort. That will get transferred over to the potential owner, and then the league will happily get out of this end of the business and get focused on other things.
Thanks, Fred. Before we continue in studio here, it's going to be Graham Parker. After Graham Parker, we will go back to our remote folks with Philip Bondi, and then we'll come back into the studio with Gustavo Martinez. So we'll turn it over to Graham Parker, who's here with Grantland, I believe, today.
Graham Parker.
How are you doing? It's a question about the USL Pro deal. I just wondered if maybe you could talk a little bit about it from not just a technical point of view, but perhaps from the business point of view, as to whether this begins to suggest a map for future expansion, and I suppose by extension whether or not teams who have allied with NASL are perhaps going to find a little bit of a rockier road towards getting an MLS expansion franchise.
So no, the USL Pro relationship is not at all linked to expansion. It's purely technical, purely competitive. It is about trying to create a relationship with the lower divisions that are interested in working with us on development. So if the The question on whether the NASL has interest in MLS opportunities would be a question for them, not for us. And if there is an opportunity in Orlando, for example, just happens to be a USL team that's interested in MLS expansion, we'll talk to them about that. But independent of the development relationship, I think all the soccer people in the room have always believed that we don't have enough underneath the first team in Major League Soccer. The lower divisions are very immature. They're still fractured. There's still some challenges there. So we need to find a way that we could ignore some of that and just really focus on what do we need to do to provide young people an opportunity to get real competitive matches, to make our reserve league better, to give some of our teams the opportunity to invest in the USL Pro, and 4 of our teams will, to be able to have even a closer relationship in their markets or in their region. It's all about making our players better.
Thank you, Graham. Now we're going to go back online to, this time, Montclair, New Jersey. Philip Bondi with the New York Daily News. Philip.
I recognize that room.
Yes, you do. It is the house you sold me 20 years ago.
That's right.
Slightly expanded.
Expansion's a big story here, Phil.
Yes, and in light of that, the segue is, maybe you could clarify what I guess is perceived around here to be a confusing situation, almost a game of chicken between MLS and the Cosmos, and that stadium out in Long Island, whether that is at all relevant to you, and also whether this, you mentioned something of a timetable. If this isn't resolved within 3 years or whatever, or at some point do you throw up your hands and say, okay, we move somewhere else?
Well, I'll take the second one first, Phil. But sure, if we're not able to be successful, we'll throw our hands up and say time for shifting emphasis. I will say that it will be far sooner than 3 years before we throw our hands up. We've been working on this for a couple of years. We're hoping to be able to get something finalized this year. And if we're not able to do that, we'll probably take a step back and figure out whether or not there's another market that we want to move in, to Jack Bell's question. And on your first one, I think you've got to ask the guys at the Cosmos whether or not that's their motive. To us, it's really irrelevant, Philip. We support and have for a decade anything that's good for the sport. We're trying to raise the water level of it. We're the leaders of this sport in the U.S. and Canada. We're focused on trying to get our project done. My guess is they're focused on trying to figure out what they can get done, and what they do, we hope, will be good for the NASL. That's good for soccer in America. And I'm having lunch with their commissioner tomorrow. It's a guy that used to work for me at the NFL. I would say we're friends. And we're just going to get focused on getting our project done as quickly as we can. Thanks. Follow up, or you're done?
I'm done for now, but so I should ask, you're saying you're telling New York you've got until the end of this year. Is that?
No, I mean, I hear, probably not, Philip. No. We need to get this done within a reasonable time period. 3 years is too long. I don't want to put a year deadline on it, but we're focused on getting this done. And at some point, we'll take a step back and say, if it's not making progress, time to focus our priorities elsewhere. So I don't want you to write that article that they got a year. That's not the case. But we want to get something.
I've tweeted it.
Yeah, we want to get it done.
I'm kidding.
All right.
I'll tell you where the bodies are buried in that house if you don't.
Thank you, Philip. We'll go back to the studio here with Gustavo Martinez from El Diario.
Buenas noches, comisionado. Good evening. Well, one of the community's concerns in the Flushing area, the Corona Park area, is if you have already specified where you're going to put back the park that the stadium will take if you guys were to build it over there. Another thing is you have mentioned that the stadium is going to be privately built with private money, obviously. But people are thinking, or people are saying that you might get tax bonds or some kind of tax breaks to build that stadium in Indiana. It would cost the people some money. Could you comment to that?
Sure. So let me just start by saying we, by law, are committed and obligated to replace the parkland. So if we use 10 acres for the stadium, we will replace 10 acres of parkland in the area. And frankly, we feel like we've got a pretty good plan to replace that parkland. We've also made a commitment to renovate the fields that are used by all the youth and adult leagues. That wasn't a requirement. That's part of our commitment to be a good partner in the park if we're successful. We're going to continue to talk to all the community leaders to ensure that whatever it is that we do, if we're able to be successful in this process, that they feel good about it, and actually that they have a voice at the table to help guide us with some of the things that we will be asked to do as this process continues. This is the first stadium in New York that has no public investment in it. So this will be the first privately financed stadium. And as you know, whether it's Yankee Stadium or Citi Field or other buildings, they all had public support. We'd love to have public support. Frankly, we think with the thousands of jobs and the massive amount of economic value that we're going to provide to the city of New York and its tax base and the local community, we are entitled to have some public support. We get that that's not going to happen. We also have tried to negotiate a deal that's not near final to get a deal that will at least provide us with some ability to have a team that will be able to be successful. We're a long way from being able to talk about those details. At some point soon, I think we'll be able to share them with the public. But we think the city's getting a great deal. Frankly, I think the city thinks it's a great deal because they have no money into it. And we're going to be putting in what could be $350 million in that park, a park that hasn't seen that kind of investment ever.
But there's no specific lots where the park will be placed?
Not yet. That's part of the open community debate. That's not a local 20th New York City team decision. That's a decision that will happen after a very open discussion with the community. We want them to participate and be part of that narrative with us.
What about the tax bonds or tax credits?
It's too premature to talk about any of the economics on the deal. We're a long way from that issue or any other issue to be finalized.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gustavo. And actually, our great hosts here at Google today have many, many soccer fans in their employee base. And we're going to go to one of their employees, and my apologies because I don't have the gentleman's name. If you could tell us your name.
Hi, my name is Misha. I'm a big fan of the New England Revolution. And I wanted to ask you, everything you're doing with the New York Stadium, what are you doing about the stadium situation in New England, and how concerned are you with the situation in New England in general?
Well, the New England Revolution, a great club, Kraft family, founders of the league, really so committed and such big believers in the sport. I think Jonathan Kraft could be one of the biggest soccer fans on our board. They love the game, and they love the New England Revolution. They own a stadium, and it's logical that you would think that they would play their games in the stadium they already own. And they have a massive private investment in that stadium and Patriot Place around it. That being said, they have been public in saying that they're looking at a more urban location. They've been dealing with that for well over a year. That will be a double down, triple down, quadruple down personal financial commitment on their part. This is one of those cases where we're trying to get public support because it's hard to think about moving out of a stadium where you've already invested money for your football team and have your soccer team played and now have to invest even more money downtown. We hope to support them in their efforts and hope that they'll be able to achieve some success.
All right, great. We're going to come back later to our friends at Google. We're going to go back remote right now online. Our next three questions, we're going to have Adam Jardy with the Columbus Dispatch momentarily. Then we've got one of our great supporters out in Seattle, Kevin Zelko. And we also have Jonathan Tannenwald with Philly.com. But we'll go to Adam Jardy, who's joining us from Columbus, Ohio.
Hi, Don.
Adam.
I'm just wondering, a year ago, there was a lot of talk about, sort of the future direction of the crew and where, they sat as far as financially with the city and everything. And I just wonder, they've been very vocal about different financial goals they've been trying to hit. Where do you get a sense as to how far they've maybe come in a year? And are you satisfied with the progress they're showing off the field?
Well, you're never satisfied. I'm never satisfied about anything. So, no, not satisfied, but actually somewhat pleased with the level of support, particularly from the corporate community and the Columbus Partnership and the great leadership that Mayor Coleman has shown in really taking a personal interest in helping that team achieve its goals, 10,000 season tickets. One of those goals, the second goal was a sponsor on the front, now Barbasol, local company. The third goal was getting a naming rights partner on the stadium. The Columbus Partnership, which is a great group of business leaders, a high-level chamber of commerce led by the mayor, has really made a commitment to help that team get closer to achieving those three goals. They're not yet there on their 10,000 tickets. Mark McCullers has been working hard to try to achieve that. They are growing their season ticket base, and we're pleased at that. When they came in to present their plan, we were very pleased with their growth. We are really excited about Barbasol. I got my shipment of Columbus Crew Barbasol shaving cream. You guys should all go out and get MLS team identified shaving cream because they made a big commitment to the Crew in Major League Soccer. And we're making some progress on the stadium front. And we're hopeful that Mark is able to close a deal there. So we're feeling pretty good, cautiously optimistic.
Is there something that you've maybe expressed to them that they need to be doing that they're not doing? Or is there any direction that the league has provided to them?
No, the direction is support versus anything other than that. We focus with all of our clubs on what their priorities are. And in Columbus, we believe that's one of our original teams founded by Lamar Hunt, one of our founders. Columbus is a great city. It's positioned properly. First soccer-specific stadium. We believe that they should be able to achieve their goals. And I personally and our club marketing staff have been spending a lot of time with them to help them do that. So the direction is only in guiding them so that they can get better and achieve their goals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Our next question, we're going to go to Kevin Zelko, who is one of our great fans out in Seattle. Kevin?
Hi, Don.
Hi, Kevin.
Last month, the Cascadia Cup was trademarked, and I would like to know, do you think that trademarking the Supporters Cups steps on the toes of us that are working to help grow the MLS?
So you broke up a little bit, but as you could imagine, I know exactly what question you were going to ask, so I'm ready to give you an answer. It's a good question. Let me start by saying what I said publicly, and I'll say to you and hopefully everybody that's watching here. We didn't go about this process right. We're not perfect. We went and believed that Cascadia Cup would be protected better if we were able to register that trademark, and we should have gone about it differently. We should have called up those folks that were the caretakers of and had a conversation and figure out how we could mutually achieve our goals, because I think the Cascadia Council is interested in protecting the Cup trademark as well. Over the last 4 weeks, and I don't know if you were on those calls or not, but our league president and our attorneys have sat down with the Cascadia Cup Council that's represented by about 8 lawyers and all members of the supporters groups in Seattle, Vancouver, and Portland, and have tried to talk about ways that we could satisfy our mutual goals. We've had 2 of those calls over the last month. I think the guys are making progress. They haven't resolved anything. What I'll say to you, and I want to say this to all the fans in the Pacific Northwest, I'm very confident that we will reach an agreement that will make everybody happy, that will take some of the heat off of this issue, satisfy some of our concerns, but at the same time honor and provide some reverence and some support for that great trophy and that terrific tournament. So I'm confident the next time we see each other, I'll be in Seattle this weekend, try to pull me aside on Saturday night. I think we're not going to get it resolved by Saturday, but we'll get it resolved in a way that everybody will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Continuing with our questions online, we're going to go to Mr. Jonathan Tannenwald. Look at all those scars behind you, John. So Jonathan Tannenwald with Philly.com.
Thanks, Dan. I'm lucky. I've been able to travel to a lot of cities in MLS since the union came on board in 2010, and that's where a lot of these have come from. Commissioner, you talked about increasing the investment of revenue in players in the league, and in the last couple of years, as part of the collective bargaining agreement, the salary cap has gone up about 5% a year. And I'm wondering, at what point do you think MLS will be ready to make a larger increase in the cap at a given point in order to help keep some of the league's rising stars here and attract players from beyond? And after that, I have a follow-up.
Well, you know, again, the expenditure analysis is not just about the cap. We have some clubs that are spending $15 million a year. So the total amount of spending over the years of the CBA has grown far more than 5%. So it's not just about the cap, it's ways that we're managing all of our spending, including some costs that are not related to the cap that have grown far more dramatically than 5%. I think the question is related to the gentleman from Reuters. You know, if we're going to achieve our goals, we're going to have a business that could support spending more money. If our revenues are going to grow, I'm sure we're going to spend more money and increase our salary budgets. If our revenues don't grow, then we shouldn't do that, because then we won't have this discussion next year, because the league could conceivably be out of business. So we're very, very focused on doing it right. We are confident that we'll be able to grow scale, that we'll be able to raise our revenue pool. And like all leagues, when you're making more money, players are getting paid more and staff is getting paid more and everybody's happy. Hopefully our owners will be making some money.
My follow-up question is this. You talked about lots of different means of player development in MLS, both the USL Pro relationship, youth player development, excuse me, homegrown players, and lots of other things. Ali Curtis gave a really interesting seminar at the NSCAA convention that shed a lot of light into how MLS does its player acquisitions and deals. And the league has definitely become more transparent over time, but there are a lot of things that are not all the way there yet. Length of contracts and allocation money and things like that. The salaries are still out there, but they're published by the Players Union and not necessarily by the league. And I know that Ali and you and lots of other people at MLS headquarters have talked about wanting to have more transparency in that regard. What course do you see the league taking towards that goal?
Well, you know, I've never thought that through, Jonathan, because from our perspective, you've got to think about what's the goal of transparency. If that goal is to grow your fan base and create more connection with your fans, more debates, more fantasy games, more buzz in the talk radio and the kinds of things that those kinds of issues can create value, then we would do it. To do it just for the sake of public distribution isn't really that logical. I mean, my guess is that I probably can't go online and get your salary, and I don't think that Philly.com is publishing your salary either.
They don't have much reason to, believe.
So I think you'll see, as you have more and more openness, more and more transparency, I think that will continue to evolve as the league continues to grow. Hopefully, all you folks in the media will want it for reasons to engage socially and to create more excitement and energy amongst our fans. And if we see that, then there's a good business reason to be more proactive in that area.
Thanks, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, we're going to go back into the room here once again. Our great host from Google, another one of the employees who are a soccer fan. Sir, if you could give us your name.
Yeah, my name's Ryan. Hi, Don. Question. I wanted to ask you about MLS Works, and maybe you could share kind of one story from last year in terms of community outreach, and then maybe something that you hope for next year.
Sure. First, I want to thank you for all the Google folks for hosting us. This is great. If you're interested, this will be our plan for years to come. So we're very excited about it. Appreciate all your support. You know, MLS Works is one of those programs that I think truly sets MLS apart from where we were years ago, and is something that will establish a legacy for our league, for our players, and for our clubs that will live for the rest of time. There's one that just sort of falls right into the sweet spot of that connection. And it's one, I'm surprised I haven't been asked a Landon Donovan question yet. But when the unfortunate tragedy happened in Sandy Hook, we had a bunch of players came together, organized by one of our general managers, Chris Canetti in Houston. The first call we got was from Landon Donovan saying, hey, off season, I want to come in. If you guys are hosting a clinic and a big fan event in Newtown, can I come? Flew in on his own, basically organized a bunch of other players to come in with him. We had 40-odd players, a bunch of legends, both on the women's side and the men's side, guys like Alexi and Kobe, and seeing all of them interact with about 1,200 families that were unfortunately involved with that tragedy was one of the great moments as commissioner. I think you do what you do, you're leading a business, you're running a business, you're dealing with boards and fans and the public and the like, but every now and again you get that opportunity to see what is the impact that all of this work is doing in the community, where some little kid is waiting on a long line to meet Landon and then literally hugs him with his mother and father, and it brings tears to your eyes. That development, that accomplishment is what I think empowers all of us, because the business stuff you got to do every day. MLS Works is something that makes us all very proud.
Great. We have a few more journalists here in studio, and then we'll get back to our friends at Google. Howard Megdal with Capital New York. Is Howard here?
Right.
Oh, there's Howard right there. Okay.
So you're the guy.
Yes, that's right. Hi, Commissioner. Nice to speak with you.
Congratulations on the new blog.
Oh, thank you. Two parts of this. The first, as it relates to the Red Bulls, as the Red Bulls' own stats indicate, about 60% of their fan base comes from New Jersey, 40% from the New York and surrounding area. So when you see a stadium that is 68% full, I'm curious what you see as some benchmarks to get closer to success for the Red Bulls franchise, either off or on the field, and then also how the stats seem to add up in your mind come, let's say, 2016, once New York 2 is hopefully present.
Sure. So I don't think that being a fan is necessarily driven by where you're located. A lot of Jet fans that live in Connecticut, and the Jets their headquarters were in Long Island. They were playing in Shea Stadium for a while now, certainly not Citi Field, but years ago. So I think there are plenty of New Yorkers who will remain Red Bull fans, and hopefully this rivalry will allow them to go from the 18,000 fans they have on average to 25,000 fans on average. They now have a new manager. The new management have come in. They're moving their offices to downtown Manhattan. They're getting very focused on engaging in the downtown community. They had a great event Monday night, unfortunately, that I missed, that I heard was fantastic and really connected with their fans. Ultimately, this will make the Red Bulls bigger, better, and more popular. 13 million people live in this tri-state area. Not many of them are from Queens that are going out to New Jersey. So I think this rivalry will raise the water level for both of those clubs, make Major League Soccer more popular, more powerful, and more influential in New York City. It's an important market.
Great. And just to follow up as far as the New York City market goes, you had mentioned that you were imminently going to have lunch with the NASL commissioner. Just curious, in terms of the Cosmos themselves, how recently have you had contact with them? How would you characterize that contact, and how would you characterize their status within the ownership groups vying for NY2?
Well, their status, that's a question for them. And you can call Bill Peterson, their commissioner. You can call Seamus O'Brien or Eric Stover. I was sitting at a table next to them last week at the New York City Soccer Gala, and I'm friendly with both Seamus and with his partners and with Eric, who I have a lot of respect for. So I continue to speak with them, and I'll speak with them on a regular basis. They had a choice to make. Do they want to vie for a New York City MLS team, or they want to go into the second division? They decided to go into the second division. We support that and continue to support the NASL and the USL. I sit as the chairman of the Pro Council at US Soccer. My job isn't just to run Major League Soccer, it's to make professional soccer more viable in America, and we need the NASL to be successful to do so.
So they're not one of the active groups seeking NY2 right now?
Again, I would ask them whether they're active. I have not had active discussions with them on that recently.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. We'll continue with Alex Labadou from goal.com. Alex?
Hey, Don, how are you doing?
Good to see you.
I guess two questions I have is, one, with the playoffs, a lot of people continue to ask about the significance of the regular season. You talk about developing the league over the decade. Do you see the playoffs being a part of the league in 2022? And my second question is about Landon Donovan and his decision to come back in end of March, I guess.
Sure. So, we're believers in playoffs. Come hell or high water, we're believers in playoffs. We believe that having a compelling postseason as a march to our championship engaging here in the United States and Canada, where playoffs are a part of every other major league, is going to be something that will drive more value, drive higher audiences, drive more excitement for our season. It's something that is just evidenced. Our television ratings are higher in the playoffs. Our attendance is higher in the playoffs. Our media buzz and all of our social connectivity is higher in the playoffs. So we think we've got the ability to promote two things. We can promote our regular season champion, and that's something that our clubs like and they talk about. It's one of the qualifications for the Champions League. That's something that gives us, if we wanted to, the ability to have something new and compelling to even make more noise with. And it gives us, call it a second season, this opportunity to really crown our champion with the playoffs. We believe, particularly with an unbalanced schedule, big country, odd number of teams, unique schedule, it's almost impossible, in our view, to have a single table champion when you have an unbalanced schedule as the final determiner as to who's the best team in Major League Soccer. I don't know how you would do it.
I guess a follow-up to that is there's some who would argue that where you finish in the season doesn't really matter for the postseason as long as you get in. Is there any plans to maybe have an incentive for finishing first in your respective conference?
I think it's something we would look at, something we do look at every year. So I think doing some things to incentivize clubs one way or the other is something we look at every year. No reason that we wouldn't continue to look at that. Let me move to Landon. Landon's one of the great players, in my opinion. I think he's the most important player in the history of American soccer. This young guy has been holding this responsibility of being the leader of the sport on the field since he's 15 or 16 years old. That's an incredible responsibility, in many ways obligation, and a burden to carry. He's won more championships than any other MLS player. He's played in multiple World Cups. He's arguably the most popular player in the United States, by the way, and American player, by the way. He also plays in Major League Soccer, something that's important to us. Incredible character. A layup when you ask me the question about MLS works. Landon is a unique, special guy. I have a great level of respect for him. If Landon needed time to take a deep breath, I was very supportive of that. I could spend some time with him to talk about it. I'm very pleased for him and the LA Galaxy and soccer fans across the U.S. and Canada that he'll be back soon.
Do you think it'll be longer than just this season, or do you foresee that he'll be sort of down?
I can't answer that. I think Landon needed to take a deep breath. I mean, none of us have had to do what Landon's had to do. I mean, we all would say, boy, I'd love to be Landon. I make a lot of money. I go to work in shorts every day. But think about it. It's an enormous responsibility, an unprecedented one for a singular athlete in a professional sport. It's easy to understand, and I'm very sympathetic to the challenges that he had, where he said, I just need to take a breather. And, I think that breather will be over soon. He'll be back. As you probably know, he's reporting back to the Galaxy shortly, and it'll be all good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. We'll continue with our questions here in studio. We have Mike Pesca with NPR. Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Thanks. I wanted to follow up on the TV viewership question and issues. You documented how the growth of in-stadium attendance is going very well. So one of my questions is, what did you expect? Did you expect that the television ratings would go hand in hand with the in-stadium attendance? Is it somewhat surprising that television ratings aren't better? Second part of that is just how important are TV ratings? Do we make too big a deal out of it, we in the media, or are they really a critical issue for the growth of the league? And you talk about in 10 years being one of the premier leagues in the world. Give me a prediction where the TV ratings will be or will have to be to consider it to be a top league in the world.
Won't do that. I won't do that. I don't know what they'll be. They'll have to be higher than they are now. And I think your point is a good one. I do think that the pundits, it's not just the media, but pundits generally, turn to things that measure where you are. And television ratings in sport are one of those measures. By the way, it's generally tied to what you get paid on television. The question was asked to John Skipper, who runs ESPN, are you concerned about where Major League Soccer's television ratings are? I said no. We knew what they would be. We know the size of their audience. We're committed to MLS. We're committed to the sport. With our ratings history, what it was, NBC came in and basically bought those rights out from under Fox Soccer Channel. They major network, and we'll have network games in addition to the cable games. So I think the media, others look at it perhaps more than broadcasters and the league does. But that being said, I think you need to grow. You need to grow your audience, and one of the measures of that growth is on television. I do think it is, as I mentioned again, going back to the Reuters question, I think it is about where the league is in its life cycle, starting with local fans, local passion, believe in their club, and then it grows from there to believing in the league, part of why it's a league vision to be one of the top leagues in the world. I think a great test case is the NHL, who has very, very passionate local fans, well over 90% local stadium attendance, which is really admirable. Had been trying to build their national audience and then did some terrific things with new programming, new schedules, some great players. Some of their popular legacy teams started doing well, and all of a sudden their television ratings exploded. So that's that model actually is one that we hope to be able to follow.
Thank you, Mike. With that, we're going to conclude today's Google Plus chat session. Commissioner, parting thoughts for the group?
I really appreciate all the support from the media. I know I'm not just talking to the 30 or so people here, but all the folks that are watching online. I say this at our State of the League address every year. You know, we're all in this together, trying to grow this game that we really know and love, and also the industry that we all work in and are so passionate about. We appreciate your support. We really want to thank the folks at Google and the MLS digital staff. Great partnership. Very excited about the relationship. Also really excited about Kick TV and all that that new channel could represent for us and for our fans. And let's hope for a great kickoff this weekend. I'll be in Vancouver, Seattle, Los Angeles, and really excited about the march to soccer and the kickoff of 2013 MLS season. Thanks very much.